an umbrella rule for every negligence case. Here insert doctor, manufacturer, driver, whatever. Is it ever proper to needlessly endanger your customer? Now, how can you answer that? Of course, it's never proper to needlessly endanger your customer. But it begs the question of what's danger and what's needless and what the customer does. Tell me when you're ready. Again, the court stand. I think it's permitted to put a measurement on here. These are a ½ inch. That's what it was. That's what it was in the canning group. A ½ inch. Now, somebody might pick it up from here, but somebody might pick it up from here. And if they do, they might put their fingers, especially if they have small fingers, into the fan. Where's the warning? Where's the notice not to do that? We live in a society where there's a question about how did we get here? Thanks. You saw the DVD of how to use the vertical canning. You saw that you must turn the timer on. Now, one of the things that's important in this case is the believability of Bonnie Martin. She said she had no idea that there was a fan at the top of the tank. Is that believable? It automatically turns the dome light on. It automatically turns the fan on. The fan is very loud. There's the booth you've seen, the timer you've seen, the fan that you've seen.
Now, if someone wants to, say the plaintiff wants to go in and can, how do you turn on the canning booth lights?
First thing they do is they set their timer. Once they set the timer from the outside, the light goes on and the fan starts. Then they can, they're usually ready to be stepped into.
Okay, now how do you turn the lights, as soon as the lights on the can, how do you turn those on?
Once you're in the unit, there's a button, two buttons, and an on button.
You've seen it. You've seen it. There's no way she didn't know there was that. She says she didn't know there was a fan there, but she had to. She had to know it was there, had to know it was on. She said she could not see where the handles were, but she was an experienced user of the booth. She could have seen if looked. Her own engineer admitted that. She said she did not look. I asked her, well, did you have your eyes closed? Well, I usually have them open if I have my goggles on. I said, well, did you have your goggles on? Or were you trying not to get the raccoon eyes? She either did not look or she had her eyes shut. And she reached blindly for the handles. And she put her fingers in the fans because she wasn't careful. Now, the lawyer hired her engineer, and her own engineer did not give a lot of credence to her saying she didn't know there was a fan there. Because he said you would expect a fan there. She should have heard it. Nothing blocked its view. You could have seen it if looked. And it's dangerous to stick your fingers in there. You're supposed to wear eye protection. There was no problem with her eyesight when I took her deposition in August of 2011. But there's also no problem with her eyesight at the time because she had her contacts in. And she said I had my contacts in. She used her own goggles. She doesn't know where she got them. She tried to say, well, I must have got them at Fuel Fitness, but she finally had to say, I don't know where I got them. And she said, you can have your eyes open with the goggles on. But she said she couldn't see her handles through the goggles, but she said she doesn't remember if she looked. Well, that's the key. She threw her goggles out, so we don't know what you can see through the goggles that she was wearing. You could see, and the evidence was that you could see where the handles were using the eye protection Fuel Fitness sold. They hired an engineer, and I apologized to you in opening statement that it was going to be long and boring, and it was. But I had to show to you that he's a professional witness. That is what he is. He does reviews, reports, affidavits, 600 depositions, 250 trials, more. Doesn't know how they got his name, made no difference to him, no publications about tanning booth, not a member of any tanning booth organizations. You can take this whole curriculum vitae, resume, whatever you want to call it, 50 pages, it doesn't mean a hill of beans because it's got nothing to do with tanning booths, and more importantly than that, the guy never even looked at this tanning booth. He never did any testing on the tanning booth. He never inspected the tanning booth. No testing at all. He did no testing to determine what could be seen with the non-tanning light on, that's the dome light, with the tanning lights on, using goggles like her, or using eye protection sold at Fuel Fitness. He didn't do anything. Why did he not do anything? Why didn't he want to get to the bottom of it? Why didn't he come here? If this is such an important case, and a big case, why didn't he come here? Where's the doctor? Why didn't the doctor come here? Think about it. He never inspected it. He runs a consulting business that never made a product, designed a product, never consulted with tanning booths, never worked at a fitness gym, or worked at a place with tanning booths. I don't care if you've got a degree or not. Give me a guy that knows tanning booths. Give me a guy who comes in and says, I've worked on these tanning booths. I know how they work. I know how the fans are set up in them. I know if this is how fans usually are set up in them. I know, and they didn't do that. They went out and hired a professional witness. Even though no experience with vertical tanning booths, no inspection, no testing, he gave an opinion that it was a hazard. But he considers any condition with a potential cause of injury a hazard. Well, that's anything. That's another trick answer. Well, it's a hazard. Well, what do you consider a hazard? Anything that can cause injury is a hazard. Well, I asked him, do you mean like shaving? Yeah. Drinking hot coffee? Yeah. Use sharp pitching? Yeah. Boiling water? Yeah. Where's the warnings? Where's the protection? Where's all? It's silly. He says, what he says, in essence, is this case boils down to is that Jared Thomas should have made it impossible for her to put her fingers in that fan. That's not the standard. The standard is reasonable care. And the standard is also that she's not blind. She's not a kid. She's an adult. She could see. She knew there was a fan there. You can't believe that she didn't know there was a fan there. She'd been there before. She knew where the handles were before. And it's his fault because he didn't make it impossible that even though she was careless, she would get hurt. Have we come that far? It would have been different if he had known. Yeah, if somebody had gotten hurt, if he'd have been on notice, yeah, he should have fixed it then. He should have done something else. People that use it thousands of times. No fire injuries or complaints. He's not the manufacturer of the machine. He didn't choose that grade. But somehow he's supposed to be an engineer, and he's supposed to know, just by taking it apart and cleaning it, and putting it back together, gee, would somebody be so careless as to stick their fingers in there when they know the fan's running and on, and not look, or whatever? How are you... You can't judge this in hindsight. That's what they're asking me to do. Now that something has happened, well, let's go back and say, well, it could have been fixed, it could have been avoided, it could have been prevented. Well, you can't judge it in hindsight. You had to judge it with what he knew at the time. Knew or should have known at the time. He had no reason to know that there was any problems. He received no recall regarding this product. She used these vertical tangents many times. She simply did not pay attention to what she was doing. And of course, well, adding the screen afterward, when he did have knowledge that somebody would be so careless and not look and put it in, and he didn't want it to happen to anybody else, even if they're not paying attention. Well, he didn't do it before. Because they didn't know before. That they'll be clairvoyant to try to figure out all the possible ways somebody might hurt yourself in a business that you own, or in your home, or in anything that you own and use. How could somebody might hurt it? We're not talking about kids. We're talking about adults. How could they possibly be hurt with this? I've got to figure it out ahead of time, and I've got to prevent it. The judge's instructions are going to tell you that it's reasonable care. It's not an insurance or a guarantee that you will not get hurt using the equipment at the facility. The lost wages, that's just her own statement. I don't know why they don't bring something in from her employer, but they didn't. The money that they told you that they wanted, that the lawyer put up here, where is the evidence, other than the medical bills and the lost wages, where is the evidence of those numbers? They came entirely from his head. He made them up. He said, they're guidelines to you. There's no evidence of them. We want you to do justice with your verdict. And you were shown what is not all the verdicts. Thank you. Because one of the verdicts is that you can find for the plaintiff and assess the percentages of fault of each. You can find for the defendant and decide that they weren't at fault at all. And then you don't go through that gymnastics of figuring out the money. You just stop there. You can find for the defendant and determine the percentage of fault. And if the fault is more than 50% on Ms. Martin, as I believe the evidence is clear, then the verdict should be for dual fitness. take a look at that instruction. This is one of the instructions that the plaintiff talked about and is the most important instruction in my opinion. They're liable, Fuel Fitness is liable only if they knew of the condition, they didn't know of the condition. They realized it created an unreasonable danger, not a danger, an unreasonable danger, or they should have discovered the condition and its danger. Now, what is the condition? The condition is that there is a fan grate with the same spacing as that fan grate over there, that if you want to and try to, or if you're not looking, you can put your fingers through. And these are all and. They should have expected Bonnie Martin would not discover it or realize the danger. Now, how in the world would you expect that a person would not know there's this whirling fan up there? I don't understand that. How can you say they should expect that she would think that it's impossible to put my hands through the fan grate? You can put your hands through that fan grate. How are they supposed to figure she's going to think it's impossible to put my hands through the fan grate, so I don't have to look, I don't have to pay attention, I don't have to do anything. And not protect herself against it. So they have to anticipate that she wouldn't know the fan was there, she wouldn't know that it's a danger if you put your fingers through the fan grate, and that they would have to know that she would be able to protect herself against it. Well, in my home I don't serve hot coffee with lids on it. And I hand it to people. And unfortunately, they might spill it, and that would burn them. But I don't think I have to start serving every hot coffee in my home with a lid on it. They're going to get up and say it's different when you sell it to go, but this is not selling to go. And fail to use reasonable care to protect her against the danger. No place in here does it say they had to make it impossible for her to get hurt. It doesn't say it. And no instruction that the judge will give you says that. Now, just a couple more things. This is the last chance that I get to talk to you. As the judge indicated, our system is set up so that the plaintiff goes first, then I go, then the plaintiff goes again with a final summary, and he'll get up and disagree with everything that I said. But I don't get to get up and talk again. That's the rules. The reason that's the rule is because they have the burden of proof. And you have to keep remembering that they have the burden of proof. If we have just tied them, we win. But we don't have any burden of proving, of denying her claims. Okay. They've got the burden of proof. And remember, when we talk about, well, how good of a case is this if they don't bring these people in? How good of a case is it when they're so concerned, can you find, if it's just 51%, if you can just get over that edge, if you can find, they know they have a weak case. That's what it means. No doctor, no engineer. You just made it 51%. If you vote for the plaintiff, what you are voting is that a business has to make it impossible for a customer to be hurt no matter how careless they are, and that they have no responsibility to watch out for themselves. That's a bad rule. Please don't do it. Thank you.
Mark, we're still going to be using that, so.
Okay.
All right, I think I've got 10 minutes. I'm setting my little timer for 9. And there's a type of fan that they didn't bring in here, which is the type that's in the top of this booth. This is a demonstrative exhibit. I don't know if you guess what this is, but this is something that normally sits on the kitchen counter and has bananas and fruit and different things like that in it. If you notice, when you look at it from the side, that there are larger gaps along the edge as you work down. But if you look at it from the bottom up, you see that the rings are all very tight. Everything in these rings are very tight when you look at it from the bottom. So if you have a fan up on top and above you that you think is covered and guarded, all you're going to see is the tight spirals like we see here. Now, if you look at those photographs and you look at the information, the only one that could see that there's a gap at the top where the fan hits the ceiling is the guy who takes it apart 24 times to clean it. Nobody else is going to see that gap. Everybody that uses that fan has the right to expect that it is safe, that there's a perfect guard. Now, we're not requiring perfection. What we're requiring is when you guard something, it has to be a complete guard. It can't be a halfway guard. It just can't be. It creates more danger if you have a halfway guard than if you have no guard. Because you start to think, well, this is guarded. And it's not really guarded because it's only a halfway guard. The only thing Bonnie did wrong was she assumed that she was given proper instruction and that she had safe equipment. Who would go into that tanning booth thinking that there was not something guarded. Would you think because they have bulbs all around, there has to be electricity flowing through that unit? But would you think that you're going to get electrocuted, that there's going to be a bare wire someplace that you can touch? It's no different here. There should be no danger, and you would expect no danger. Fuel Fitness made calculated choices not to make its premises and machines safe. Those choices include buying a 14-year-old unit, not having it fully inspected for safety reasons. They brought no evidence in here to say that they had that inspected. They brought no evidence in here to have to go over anything that showed that this unit was safe, or that it wasn't as we calculated it. There's another instruction that you'll see, and it's called instruction number 20. The defendant has a duty to protect the invitees of its business from dangerous or hazardous conditions on its premises. As part of this duty, the defendant must warn invitees of hazards and dangerous conditions by the proper placement of warning and caution signs and signals. At the very least,
Excuse me,
they knew that they had
I object to the incomplete reading of the instruction.
a circumstance here.
Objection, it's an incomplete reading of the instruction.
Your Honor, I think that the instruction will be given to the jury. The actual language, in addition, is the duty to warn is imposed if the hazard is hidden or if the premises owner occupier should expect that its invitees will not discover or realize the danger. You got the full instruction now? Fuel Fitness made the choices in this instance not to tell Bond, not to do anything to warn her about this. Not just Bond, anybody that could come in to use that. The defense put on no medical evidence to contradict her injury. Defense counsel says, well, where's the doctor? What do you need a doctor for? We've given you all of her medical records. The doctor's going to say the same thing as what's in the medical record. It's not contradictory. No choice but to sue Fuel Fitness. When you're wrong and you accept responsibility, you do not sidestep responsibility at the further expense of the person you harmed. I asked the very same questions that the defense counsel asked to the expert. I asked the very same questions he asked to the expert to the defendant. And he agreed with everything that the expert said. As to this being a danger, as to this being discoverable, as to this being something that was unreasonable. That should tell you something, because he fixed it after this happened. Full compensation in this case will tell companies that they can't needlessly endanger people in the community by looking at these things and dealing with them.
I have objection.